So I'm delighted to announce the fifth talk in our sixth global seminar series entitled Investigating the Keys of Teaching Excellence. And it's been delivered by Dr. Claire Good, who's a principal lecturer in Otago Polytechnics in New Zealand. So thank you very much, Claire, for coming along, and we look forward to your talk. So it's over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Martina. Kia ora, everyone from Kia ora from New Zealand. Thank you for your interest in this session today, and thank you again to Martina for inviting me to lead one of these seminars. So yeah, my name's Claire Good. I'm a principal lecturer in the Learning and Teaching Development team at Otago Polytechnic. We're in Dunedin, which is right at the bottom of the South Island of New Zealand. You can see on the map there. The keys to teaching excellence work is one outcome of my doctoral research, which I completed in 2021. And I investigated the stories of 12 of our national tertiary teaching excellence awardees. To give you a bit of background, I initially trained as a secondary school teacher in the UK, and my very first mentor during teacher training asked if I had considered working in adult education, commenting that he thought I would be really good, his words. I often wish I'd asked him what it was that he was seeing, or if he could tell me more about why he thought I would be a good fit for adult education. And I also wonder if that is what sparked my interest in what it is that makes some teachers stand out, and how do teachers become good at what they do? What does that look like in practice? And this is what we're going to look at today. So here's a brief overview of how the presentation is organised. We'll begin by thinking about our understanding of teaching excellence. Then I'll give a brief review of elements of the research before turning to the findings and their implications. And then, as Martina said, I'll open the floor to questions and discussion. So I'm going to throw this over to you. What is good practice or best practice or teaching excellence? We hear these terms a lot, but what do these mean to you? It's inspiring curiosity, he said. Yeah. Anyone? Demonstrating we care? Yeah, definitely. Nice, Louise. Yeah, definitely very subjective. Effective teaching that supports, inspires students to learn. Socially constructed meaning. Yeah. That's nice. Allowing all to perform to the best of their ability. Different things will work for different people. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, love. Oh, yeah. Careful.
Somebody is. Oh. Gerhard, good question. Does uni management appreciate teaching excellence enough, or does it merely amount to a key metric? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There's a real lack of clarity and no agreed definition in the literature. And some of the literature suggests that these kind of terms have become empty of meaning because they're used so often. So it's difficult to know what teaching excellence is or what it looks like. And also, somebody commented, is it management that decide what it looks like? Is it even governments or ministerial departments or quality agencies? Or should it be at an organizational level? Or should teachers or learners decide what it is? And how can comparisons be made unless we know whose definition we're using? But it is definitely, I'm sure everybody is aware of how much it's used to make comparisons potentially between departments or between universities and other institutions. And typically it's about meeting organizational goals and key indicators. So it might be course completion rates, for example, employment after graduation, retention rates. But for me, I think the most important thing is if we asked most teachers, and definitely all learners, I would say, their idea of teaching excellence would be very different. So writing about the value of action research for teacher professional development, Johnson says that teachers are the most significant variable in determining the quality of education students receive and the amount of learning that occurs. The most significant variable. So if we, as teachers, are this significant, and personally I believe we are, what can we do to work towards teaching excellence? What does that look like? So my project was guided by these 3 questions. I'll just give you a moment to read those. In the interest of time today, I'll focus mostly on the aspects of my findings which impact on practice and which I hope you'll see elements of your own or possibly your team's practice in. Thinking about methodology, I needed to consider how best to capture the complexity of the experiences and knowledge and practice of multiple individuals and be able to draw meaning from that. So it was important to give people the opportunity to tell the stories of their lives and their careers. We all use stories to share our experiences, our identity, our points of view. So I'm sure you're all aware how many stories teachers have. And for me to really understand my participants and their respective careers and their identities, I needed to hear their stories as they told them. I did very briefly consider looking at award portfolios, for example, and doing a textual analysis, but I don't believe that would have, that the data would have been as rich and it wouldn't have captured the real perspectives of participants. So narrative inquiry was the best way of answering the questions I had. So narrative inquiry, Clandinin is one of the leading authors in this area, and he highlights that it provides researchers with the opportunity to understand how the personal and social, cultural, institutional aspects of our lives are all entwined, and how individual experiences are shaped by the context we live and work in. Narrative inquiry also acknowledges that our stories are dynamic and there's no clear beginning or ending. There's a comparison in Clandinin and Connolly text about if you think about when we're watching a parade, and maybe you didn't see the start of the parade and you might not see the end of the parade, but you see this good chunk in the middle, and it's you appreciate what you can see, but you don't know what came before it, and you may not know what comes after it. Narrative inquiry enables a systematic gathering, analysis, and representation of people's stories. It is cross-disciplinary, but is increasingly used in educational research. As I said, if you've ever worked with teachers, if you've been teaching for a while, you know how many stories educators tend to have, whether it's about classroom practice or experience or curriculum content or working with learners. Teachers have a lot of stories. So in terms of data analysis, Polkinghorne argues that there are two principal types of narrative inquiry: narrative analysis and analysis of narratives, and that both can make important contributions to knowledge. In narrative inquiry, you could opt to do one of those or both, and I chose to do both. So narrative analysis is what Clandinin and Connolly call restorying. So that's basically organizing the transcribed conversation with each participant into a narrative that makes sense. And then analysis of narratives is looking at themes that occur across your series of discussions. So this thematic analysis, primarily qualitative, rather than, for example, counting how many times a particular word is used. And I used a general inductive approach, patterns and themes being identified in the data, and then comparing and reviewing themes regularly, going back and forward between Braun and Clark's phases of analysis. The more I worked on writing participant stories, the more I wanted to put them together into a collection that I could gift to participants. I shared this idea with all participants in an email and asked them if they were okay about their stories being collated in this way. I feel that this gave the stories the space that they deserve and a life of their own outside of my thesis. In lots of ways, this book means more to me than my thesis. I certainly got very emotional the first time I saw the cover and realizing that I was putting this little collection together. The feedback on it, initially I did a very small print run. It was literally just for my participants, my supervisors, a couple of critical friends, and a copy for my mum, of course. And the feedback on it was so positive that last year I was able to release it as an ebook. So I think Martina has shared the link to that in the chat. That is literally the 12 stories, and you'll see a brief introduction from me talking about why it matters to me. So just to touch on question 1 very briefly. So question 1 was about how the concept of excellence, I use the word unfurl, sort of like a leaf or a flower opening. How does that unfurl in the life and the practice of my participants? And I talked with them about influences and their own experience of school, teachers that had an impact on them, sometimes in a negative way, often in a very positive way. And I captured aspects of my participants' motivation and drivers to teach in this word cloud. So, yeah, you can see that I don't think there's anything surprising here. They talked a lot about impact and passion, empowering others, mentoring, helping people. But you can see how the word others really is at the center of what drives these awardees. So in terms of awardees' professional practice, this is the second link that Martina is sharing. Thank you. 5 key themes came through in the findings, and this is the model that is called the Keys to Teaching Excellence. So the 5 overarching themes around the outside: building relationships, focusing on learners, facilitating learning, creating the right environment, a positive environment, and reflecting on practice. Closer to the center are elements which are more inherent, I guess, in an individual's personality, and skills and drivers which motivate them in their life generally, not just in their career. And then the middle layer shows more concrete examples of professional practice which can be embedded into teacher training and professional development. No one sector of the model is more important than any other. They're not in any particular order. It's about the combination and balance. In terms of recognizing success and energizing our own practice, think about the things that you already do as an educator, and you'll look at this and recognize a lot of these aspects, I imagine. There may be things that you think, I could do more of this, and it might be something that you work towards. And I would say it's about progress towards these things rather than it being about perfection or just ticking off a goal when you've reached it. I'll say more about that shortly. A couple of things, just yes. Good. I just wanted to see in the chat if anybody had asked about subject expertise. Thank you, Jackie. I was going to say, the first question most people ask is, where is subject knowledge? It's not there because only one of my 12 participants mentioned subject knowledge, and then only very briefly. It doesn't mean that content or discipline-specific knowledge is not important, but pedagogical knowledge and skills and classroom craft, if you like, are what really make a difference for learners. So you'll see in the facilitating learning section, there's an element crafting facilitation skills. And that was what came through very strongly with these awardees, was that it's not about what they know, it's about how they facilitate. So that craft and that idea of you can always learn new things, you can always learn new techniques for facilitation, new kinds of activities, and that even my participants who were already recognised at a national level for their teaching, they still want to get better and to learn more and to change things up, as much for themselves as for the learners, because it's about staying fresh and relevant and yeah. So that idea of how we do what we do, not what the content is. There is other, of course, there is other research about teacher effectiveness or teaching practice, which includes subject knowledge alongside something called teacherly knowledge. Some of the literature talks about, which that's sort of classroom practice and so on. But in this project, as I said, only one person mentioned subject knowledge, and it was very much a passing comment. Another thing I've often been asked is about my choice, use of the word facilitation. So the key, facilitating learning. Some people have commented that they feel the term facilitator perhaps minimizes what we do as educators. But if we look at how these awardees describe their practice, we see a lot about sharing passion, co-constructing knowledge, sharing stories. And these practices all suggest that learning and teaching are collaborative. And if we think about facilitation as making something happen or making something easier for somebody, then from my perspective, that's a great choice of word. That's what we do. We want to make learning happen and make learning easier and enjoyable for our learners. The third question that I'm often asked is about priority learners. So we know that at different times, and it can may depend on the government, it may depend on organizational goals or targets. We have what we often refer to as priority learners. In New Zealand, priority learners are our Maori learners, people from Pacific Islands, and our neurodiverse learners. At the moment, those three groups are who we consider priority. And a few people have looked at this and said, well, where are our priority learners? Any thoughts about that, please, from you? Nobody? Okay, so my response when I'm asked about that is that I hope it's already captured, that it's in there throughout the model, in, for example, enabling everyone to feel valued, making a place for learning, allowing people to feel safe, considering learners as individuals. Our priority learners are there. I would also suggest that from a learning and teaching development perspective, we try to encourage staff to see that ways of supporting our priority learners are good for all learners. So if these practices are embedded in everything we do on a daily basis, they should already be part of our practice rather than being a separate sort of add in sometimes. Okay. So what? What does this mean for you and your practice? What can you do to implement the model? Can you use it to guide your reflective practice or inform your professional development choices or those of your team? It might be that you look at the model and recognize that different people in your team have different skills, and that's why potentially they work so well together. Or it may be that you see some gaps that need some work, and can give a focus for people to work on. One thing we did here was to print the model out on postcards like this. So people love these because I'll see them around campus, stuck to people's monitors or on their board, so that they can see them all the time, and they just refer to them as a good reminder of what they're aiming for or why they do what they do. So yeah, thoroughly encourage you to I wish I could send you all a postcard, but thoroughly encourage you to print off the PDF that you have the link to and share it. Happy for that to happen, of course. So I would encourage, even for early career educators, I would encourage you to ask them to look for things which they already recognise. If they've come from practice in another area or come from industry, there are no doubt things in the model which they already relate to. It might be around building relationships. It might be around empowering people or engaging with people. And for me, I believe it's about developing these things as habits rather than just goals that you tick off when you reach them. I think that national awardees would all agree it's not about a destination or an end point. It's about repeated choices, just like other professionals at the top of their game or sportsmen and women. It's about doing the simple things, but important things, and doing them every day as a habit. So you may be familiar with this quote. It's often attributed to Aristotle, I think. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Okay, I think we are good. There are my references. The full reference for my thesis is on the back, the second page of the PDF, if you're interested. But equally, I'm more than happy for any of you to contact me if you have questions or thoughts or ideas that occur to you after this session. Just pop my email there and then we'll open to questions.
Okay, thank you for that. That's thought-provoking. Lots of comments in the chat. I'll just stop the recording now.
I might go, excuse me, I might